Do you have a construction story? Do you have any kind of construction building story? This usually hits home with most people. We have either renovated houses, we have bought real estate that needed to get fixed up, we've been on boards where folks are building large facilities. I know that I have participated in remodels of over a dozen homes. We've built houses from scratch. I've been on boards where we took a 65-acre campus and we repurposed it into an assisted facility campus. It it's different degrees of construction, and if you've ever been through building, remodeling, anything of its sort, I would love for you to be able to listen to this conversation that I had with Harold Turner. And he talks about how they're doing it a little bit differently. And these are huge projects that he and his team are leading around this area. And they're continuing to grow, continuing to deliver. And at the core of this, at the core of being able to deliver a product on time within budget, there's some good stories, and I would love for you to be able to listen to them. My name is Catherine Cantey. I'm an executive coach and a podcast host of Business Vitality, and I want to take this opportunity just to be able to share some of his experiences. You will soon learn that how they're doing things differently through leadership, through teamwork, through thinking about things in new ways is leading to more business. And so I want to be able to share this with you. Thank you so much for being here. And here comes Harold. So thanks so much.
Harold Turner, you are the Senior Project Manager of Thompson Turner Construction, found on the web at turner.thompsonconstructiongroup.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so kind of at a high level, can you talk about what you do and a little bit about Thompson Turner Construction?
Yeah, so Thompson Turner is a big commercial general contractor in South Carolina. And, I'd say 90% of our business is kind of K-12 and higher ed. And we do some private developments and stuff like that as well. But my role for Thompson Turner, I'm kind of focused on the upstate of South Carolina. So I manage multiple projects ranging from, $1 million up to $70 million projects at a time. So all over the upstate from, Clemson University, Anderson to Greenville and Spartanburg.
So I'm curious, what makes Thompson Turner different than the other construction companies that are out there?
I mean, I would say we're different in a couple of ways. I think one of our unique things is just our culture. We've grown a lot over the past few years, and even with all that growth, I feel like we've still maintained that family feel and small company feel. But I think another thing that sets us apart is just our the way we handle projects and the way we deal with clients. We're very open book, honest, straightforward, and, like to work together as a team. And, I think if you talk to any of our clients, they would say they value, our honesty and open book policy.
I think it's helpful. I think it's unique in construction to be able to have that open book and conversation between the construction group and the owner and the designer, and to be able to collaborate like that. Do you mind talking about, I guess, the teamwork aspect? And you mentioned culture. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of talk about culture in all the industries that are out there right now, that those that survive will have the culture. They'll have the relationships with people, the teams that are going to be built. Can you talk about maybe just, I know we can talk about it in theory, but what are the day-to-day things that you're doing to maintain that culture and these relationships? Because it is important to be able, in my opinion, to be able to keep that.
Yeah, in construction, it's a very easy industry to get bogged down in all the work. There's constant stuff all the time being thrown at you. You're trying to stay in budget, stay in schedule, deliver quality product. And, I think it's easy for a team to get bogged down in all of that. But, I think one of the most important things I've learned as of recent is just how important it is to have quality time with your team. Not only checking boxes and dotting I's and crossing T's, but just sitting down, putting your devices away and listening and having good quality conversation and thinking time. And then, also think it's important to build relationships with all your team members, not just, an exchange of work stuff, but also having a relationship and doing things outside of work, having fun together. It's funny. I was recently struggling with a coworker. Not, everything was going okay, but it was a little bumpy. And him and I got away for one afternoon, went and spent a couple hours doing something fun. And it's just amazing how after doing that one little thing, how the project and everything just started to flow. Our communication was flowing. And we went from feeling like we were kind of not on the same page to, right in line, step in step, seeing eye to eye, and things going really well. So it's interesting how we're all busy and we want to do, but I think it's very important to take a few minutes or take a couple hours and spend some quality time together and just have fun.
Yeah, you don't see that a whole lot. And I think that helps build the relationships and gels that team together. And I'm guessing you're doing that with across the board with all the team members, because when you're building these projects that are huge, you've got to be able to bridge the communication across the board. And that's important to be able to do. What do you, I'd like to kind of ask questions before, and part of it led me to this one, which is, you're going to have the individuals who undermine teamwork and that just don't want to, evolve with us. Do you mind kind of talking about that a little bit more? Because you've got a success story. Do you have maybe another one of, well, the first chance didn't work, but maybe there was a couple more tries? And, I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it, but construction, I mean, that's a hard industry to be in. You are going to come up with some interesting personalities. So you're going to probably bump up against this in an above average process, I would think. So do you mind talking about how do you battle those or work with those that may be undermining it?
No, definitely. I think whether you're in banking or construction or wherever, you're always going to run into interesting people, and it takes all kinds of cons to make the world go round. But throughout my career, I've really learned that you've got to figure out what makes people tick, especially people who are, like you say, undermining teamwork. And, like I said earlier, some of that starts with just building a relationship, building some trust with them. And, I've got an example a little while back of a guy who, maybe didn't work on one team. And so we went to another team and he was struggling there. But, through having good conversation and not just telling him what to do, but asking him questions and getting him thinking about, okay, why are these things important? Why is teamwork important? Why do we do this? Helping him understand the why and getting him set up on the right team. He was able over the last few months to really start to shine and grow and learn and do good things. So, I think another aspect of it too is paying close attention to what people are good at. Everybody can bring some sort of value to the team. And, sometimes just because you hire somebody as a, assistant project manager or a superintendent doesn't mean that, okay, no matter what, they're doing these X, Y, or Z things. I've got a recent example of a guy who's a superintendent. And, in our mind, a superintendent is somebody who's out in the field on a daily basis, working right there with the subs hand in hand. But, as I worked with him over a year's time, started to realize, golly, he's got a lot of, really project manager traits and stuff that he's good at, such as scheduling and things like that. And so it's just interesting how learning that over a year, and then now we're on a new project and he actually built the entire schedule and did a great job with it, which is something you wouldn't usually see from a superintendent.
Well, it sounds like they're growing and they're evolving, and as the business is growing, they're growing. And I think we all have potential. We just got to find it. Like you said, we got to find what we're good at and what we excel at, and then put us in those roles. And you probably could excel even further than, the role that we were currently in. It's kind of my thought. What are your thoughts on that?
And something funny is sometimes the simplest things can create, big impact and big change. One of the things that we hold in high esteem or high standard is our safety program. And so, every week we got to do safety audits, and we're walking jobs and checking these things. Well, nobody, quote unquote, wants to do safety audits or has time to do them. And so, after years and years of trying to figure out how do you get people to do these things, we introduce a simple thing such as a monthly award of a safety belt and a lunch of your choice, and created some competition. And, it's just amazing to see what a little bit of competition between everybody will do, and how it'll make things progress. So
it's the carrot and the stick,
That's it.
So you found the carrot.
Tracking things and then celebrating the little successes, some of those little things are a big deal, and people love working towards the carrot or the trophy.
Right. Do you have an example that comes to mind in regards to the little things that lead to something significant? People that have followed me, they've heard me talk about it for years. I like to hear other people's perspectives.
One of the things I talked about earlier is, when I started doing this leadership program, was looking for these big picture things and all these big, great things that were going to make big impact. And, I was kind of struggling at one point, and called somebody else, an executive within our company, and said, "Hey, you got any advice on how I can do better connecting with my team?" And he said, "Well, I just started leaving my phone in the car." And I was like, "How do you leave your phone in the car? That's our lifeline. Everybody's calling us all the time, emailing us all the time, so much going on." He said, "Man, you'll be amazed at what happens. Just try it." And so I was like, "All right, whatever. We'll give it a shot and see what happens." And, just that simple thing of putting away my devices when I go meet with my teams has had such a huge impact. The first time I did it, it felt a little awkward and a little off. I was like, "Oh, I don't have my, my safety net, my phone or whatever." But, it was amazing just the way the conversation started to flow and things started to happen. And we identified some critical, potential tripping hazards in the project and came up with some talk strategy. And it's just really changed the whole dynamic of my team meetings by simply putting away my phone for 30 minutes.
So did you lose anything? Did you lose some text or phone call that was just life-changing that you should have had your phone? Because people, they don't want to leave their phone in the car. So what was the consequence? Did something major happen and you missed it?
No, there was no consequences. Everything went good. Just because somebody's calling or texting you at a certain time, yes, there's certain scenarios where you have to answer the phone and have to take care of things, but usually things can wait 30 minutes so that you can have a meaningful meeting and have meaningful time with your team.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think when we put the phones down, I know at least for me, if I put it down, I get so much more done in that little block of time than me looking at that phone and reacting versus being proactive and owning my own time. So I think that is
first thing in the morning. I used to come in the office and crank the computer up, get into emails, texting, calling. And, over the past few months, I've started protecting the first half hour of my day to just sit down with a pen and paper and think through what I need to do and just think, not really have an agenda, think through my day, think through my week, the month, what's coming up in the future. And, man, that's had a huge impact on me as well.
Talk about that. How do you start that? Because that sounds like an anxiety attack for most people. So talk about it. Do you just block 30 minutes and roll into it, or how does that happen?
I mean, I think, I guess the way it started for me was really on my.
Thank you so much for staying tuned and listening to part of this conversation from Harold Turner with Thompson Construction Group. He can be found on the web at turner.thompsonconstructiongroup.com. If you're curious, you want to continue to have some of these conversations, you're wondering, how can this apply within my industry? I think there's ways to be able to apply it within all industries. I was in banking. It allowed me to go into many different areas of business. And what we talk about at one point with this in this interview is that there's sometimes silos built within organizations, and we need to figure out ways to break them down and bridge communication. And just like in banking or in construction or whatever industry it may be, we've got to figure out how to refine communication in order to deliver that end result. That's what's going to keep businesses vital. That's what's going to keep them going year after year, decade after decade. So if you're curious, you want to learn more, you want to continue this conversation, please reach out to me at catherinecantey.com. You can schedule a complimentary call and we can see where it goes. And maybe we create collaborations, maybe we co-create solutions. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and I would love to continue the conversation. So thanks so much for being here. You can find more about me and the work that we're doing at catherinecantey.com. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.